Hello, family. Welcome back to Landline, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get into it. It's time to get dialed in. I got to tell you everything about Kamala Harris. I understand. If your timelines look like my timelines, it's all coconuts, Kamala, beige, and brat. Kamala is Brat is my latest, and I figured it was a good time to talk about what her actual record is and what the reactions to Kamala Harris has been. So, for those of you who have somehow managed to escape the news, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, Joe Biden stepped down. He stepped out of the presidential race and he endorsed Kamala Harris. And since then, an onslaught of support has come in. Even Pelosi, right, with her decrepit knees, bowed down to the crown. She was one of the last of a subset of very prominent Democrats. So, that is something I noticed. The more I think about elite Dems, this is just like just the briefest of tangents. The more I'm like, oh my God, it's Pelosi and Schumer that are ruining like the future of the Democratic Party in so many ways. But we'll get to that. That's like another episode. Anyway, what's been really funny though in this reaction. So Kamala Harris has raised over $80 million in 24 hours, which is a new record for any presidential campaign, which is really impressive. And there's been this wave of support that I mentioned, but it is funny because the reaction from progressives, like white progressives versus black people, is something that tickles me. I can't lie. White progressives has been like, yes, incredible, amazing. This is the best thing ever. I love America. We're going to do it. And black people have been like, I see. Well, that's all right then. Let's see where this goes. It's been a very, very funny thing. Like if I had to provide sound effects, white progressives have been like, yes, Kamala. And black people have been like, and leftists have been like, okay, I would call that mute applause. That's very much what it's been. So this is because of her record. Now, what does that mean in this context? Here's the facts. Kamala hasn't actually been in the Senate, in Congress, and a VP very long. There's not a huge track record for what she's accomplished or what she hasn't accomplished. If you want to know what her record actually is, because for the most part, a vice president backs a president. That's their job. So we've seen a lot of his ticket and what he runs on and what she backs. But most of her history can be found when she was an attorney general. And as an attorney general, well, she's had a couple of wins. That's important to note. So she's done things like she's fought for environmental protections and environmental change. She had one of the things she's most known for is along with like 40 other attorneys, they reached a multi-billion-dollar deal with 5 U.S. banks that settled over flawed mortgage foreclosure practices. So. And there's a few other things that she's done for homeowners and protected them from predatory banking in that state. Those things are important things. Her most criticized point is as Attorney General, Harris released this like the annual In School and On Track report from 2013 to like 2016. And in it, in that report, there was detailed truancy and absenteeism rates in the state. So here's the kicker. Here's why black people, if you're really on the internet, like if you're chronically online, you've seen during, 2020 and maybe recently Kamala the Cop. It's definitely all over Twitch. It's all over TikTok. Maybe if you know rad people like on IG. And they call her that because she called for the parents of truant children to face harsher consequences during her first year as an attorney general, right? So this is what she did as a prosecutor. So in 2010, legislation backed by then District Attorney Harris was signed into law, allowing prosecutors to criminally charge parents of students who excessively miss schools. So just take a moment to think about how low income families and explicitly Black families, think about how Black students are treated within the public school and public education system. And then think about how, so first of all, they're hyper visible in those schools. And then think about the systemic realities that low income families face. And now criminalize them because their child is missing school. Like that has nothing to do with providing, more educational resources, for example, with providing after school programs, with, I don't know, providing anything. It was just criminalizing people for being poor. And this criticism of Harris, her anti-truancy efforts followed her throughout her career, and when she was a prosecutor in San Francisco, and all the way up to 2020, and it's here now. So if you wanted to know a little bit about what her record was and who she was and why the reaction across like lefty circles and Black people have been a little more muted, is because we have known Kamala longer. And first of all, love the way she looks. Let's just be honest. Like, she's a Howard girl. Her hair is always laid, right? She's got her little pantsuits. I like her as a person. She seems like somebody I would want to. I've been in a room with her, and I got to tell you, she does have mad riz. It's upsetting. Like, I definitely upped my game. This was back in 2018. I'm far more rizzy, but it cannot be understated. Like, she had riz. They get older. They start wearing shoulder pads for too long. A lot of that kind of gets stale. I think also the White House just like ages you. I think there's demons in there, and they just suck your life force out. And I don't know to what extent a VP feels that, but I think we're about to find out. So we know what some of her record is. This is the story that I think we're asked to be drawn into. You've got this first half Black, half South Asian woman, right? In like presidential hopeful in US history versus a white guy. Like, that's an old white guy. That one is a very old tale. She's about 20 years younger than him. She comes from, a family she's the daughter of a biologist and a university professor in economics, right? Both of whom are immigrants. And he's just a rich white guy who, made money. He's a property mogul who inherited a fortune from his father. That's kind of it. There's a very high probability that she's going to be the nominee. I think we're honestly like just all gas, no brakes towards that, which I have some feelings about. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But the question is, like, she's going to run on this anti-Trump thing. We're all running on this anti-Trump thing. Is Kamala Harris the best choice for us? The thing that I'm a little bit frustrated about is I'm with you in that it feels like such a relief. Like, our candidate up to this point was just a mothball with a face. That is a stressful feeling to have when you have a pathological liar who just gets up there and says whatever he wants. And for all that people can't stand Trump, he's hilarious. I hate it. I don't want it to be true. But he just says these ridiculous one-liners, and he's good on television. And we need somebody that just cuts through the bullshit and like strikes him at the rotten heart and the rotten core of that message while providing a vision of the future for us. We have been robbed of that because our last president did not have a future. Like, he'd lived the full range of his years he had a very long and full life. And I got to tell you, the rush of support and this whole like blue power or whatever, it's like I have mixed feelings about it, because in the rush and in this moment, and I don't want to take away the elation, we have been robbed of choice. It has become, there's such an urgency and such a need to have a clear nominee, to have somebody that clearly aligns with like what is needed right now. And that's actually coming from a lot of the elite Democrats who are saying, we need to unify. We don't have time for infighting. The problem with that is we, the people, are the ones who get shafted when elite Democrats decide that there needs to be this unified position and unified stance. Like, they're right, but we didn't have anybody fight like for our votes. We didn't have anybody fight to represent. Like, we shouldn't. I want to see for us what Logan and Jake Paul have done for boxing and retired like fighters and NBA players. Like, get in a ring and fight. Show me how much you want it. Show me how far you're willing to go. Give us a platform and a policy platform that we can actually get behind that represents what lefties and Democrats and honestly regular people need right now. I don't know that Kamala has to do that. We're so grateful to not have an authoritarian or, like this sarcophagus. Like, we're just so grateful to not have those two options that we're kind of rushing to the most obvious one. And I'm not suggesting that Kamala Harris isn't a good choice. I'm saying, is she the best choice? We'll never know because we didn't get to weigh in on that. And I do feel some kind of way about that. And here's why. We have to think about what are Kamala's current positions, because in this moment, this is a great time for us to be extremely vocal and annoying. Do you hear me? Like, this is a good time while people are falling in love with the idea of Kamala Harris. Don't forget, we're in the courting phase, okay? She still has to win us over. I know that she really has to win over the 2,000 delegates or like 2,000 plus, but I very much believe in our ability to be incredibly annoying. So why this matters, Gaza. I can't think of a more obvious thing than that. It's the reason why the vast majority of lefties don't feel like they can vote. I mean, America is funding devastation and death in Palestine by just handing over an exorbitant amount of money and military arsenal to like a douchebag with a genocidal agenda. There's no other way there's no other way to define Netanyahu at this point. And Kamala has largely backed Biden's position on that tacitly. I will say, because I did a lot of research on this, she's towed Biden's line, but who is Kamala without Biden on Gaza? She has been more forceful when it comes to criticizing Israel than Biden ever has been. And she has expressed empathy for Palestinians when Biden really didn't. She delivered a speech. There's one speech in particular in Selma. And if you know the history of Selma, Alabama, you know that it has particular significance. And it was to commemorate the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And her comments on Gaza were like followed by sustained applause. So this is her quote: "People in Gaza are starving, the conditions are inhumane, and our common humanity compels us to act," she said. "Given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire," she added after stopping for applause, "for 6 weeks." So that last part was the hoe part, right? That's the part where she has to toe the line. We have an opportunity, I think, to revive all the efforts that were put in for everyone who's like, I can't vote under these conditions. I will never, ever, ever, ever push back on that belief. I'm pushing on how far that vision goes. Because the truth is, the only way that we're ever going to stop funding to Israel is if we get the right people with the right levers in their hands, pulling them in the direction that we need them to. And right now, we might be years out from that, but does that mean we shouldn't push every button we can? Does that mean we shouldn't be a thorn in the literal ass cheek of anybody that does not believe in a free Palestine? I think we must. I think we absolutely must. So this is a moment where rather than saying, she's just a cop, she's trash, I don't believe in this because I feel all of those things, but what can we do in this moment when things are not stable, when things are not consolidated? There's holes, y'all. Remember, we talked about these holes, and I'm trying to say, be a dog. Fill the hole with what we want it to be filled with. That's all I'm saying. The other thing to think about is how the Trump administration is going to attack Kamala Harris. Now, they're going to focus on two areas. We know that there's going to be the racist thing, and they're probably going to call her a hoe, all this shit. But the two main issues are still the two main issues. They're going to attack on immigration because that's what they've been attacking Democrats on, and they're going to be attacking on inflation. So immigration, just hands down, what's Kamala's stance on that? She's also toed the line with the Biden administration. They all sound weirdly fascist when it comes to the border. And for those of you who don't know, that I did an episode a couple weeks ago where I actually talk about how the entire border crisis was manufactured. There is no border crisis in the purest sense of the term. It's just a bunch of politicians that don't want to be the ones responsible for dealing with people who are just seeking a better life, a life that they wouldn't need to seek if we weren't up in everybody's business with our foreign policy, destabilizing governments and such. So go ahead and give that one a listen if you want to know more about my thoughts on the border. That's another thing that we need to push Kamala on, because they have every Democrat has moved 100% center right or just straight up right. They sound weird. They're using Trump's talking points from 2016 and 2020. It's very loser behavior. I'm not here for it. The other one is inflation. I'm going to need Kamala to get this shit together because groceries are too damn expensive. Let me just say that again. Groceries are too damn expensive. Inflation needs to be dealt with because groceries are too damn expensive. And I just need to say, I truly cannot support another GoFundMe from a non-binary, neurodivergent queer person. I'm tired. I've got like 18 of you on a roster now. We gotta do something about inflation. Our people are clearly suffering. I can't take another GoFundMe. And I don't know what the neurodivergent part has to do with it. I don't. But I'll support you. Can we get our governments to as well? Is that a possibility? Can we get there? Inflation just being thrown around. It's the fact that people, you can literally work yourself to the bone, and you cannot afford to live in this country. That is the point. We're in a gig economy, fewer opportunities. People are out here struggling. I know people with 3, 4, or 5 jobs. I went to an open mic the other night, and a nigga said he was leaving LA because he couldn't afford to live here anymore. I mean, we are literally killing people's dreams. So Kamala, I'm going to need you to do something about inflation. And I know heavy is the head, okay? But you got a crown for a reason, my girl, okay? Them shits is laid. You are ready for this. I'm going to need you to handle inflation. So the other key issue to know, R.E., Kamala Harris, is abortion. That's a given. She's down for it. She's about it. She talks about it freely and easily, and that's something I can actually appreciate. You know, I'm getting sick and tired of how the right turns something into a lightning rod issue, and then we all just pretend it's an issue. Trans people are not an issue. We went over this. We're annoying. All right, that's it. Girl face, boy body. I can't make sense of what's going on with this thing. All I know is that I'm very hot. And that's all that matters. I'm hot aesthetically. I'm also very hot because of climate change. And it's just like, we're going to need to find a balance point because I'm not happy. Okay. I'm not happy. I'm too cute to be stressed, but I'm also hot. I'm very hot. Okay. Sorry. It got too personal there. I'm just like, I don't want to have to wear shorts is what I'm saying. Okay, I don't want to have to wear shorts every day. They're cute. I just don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to pay these electrical bills because of AC, and I'm trying to stay alive. And my dog is a sensitive girl. She has IBS. I'm positive. Okay, she can't overheat. So, Kamala's got. I'm going to say that she's a toss-up. So here's what I thought we would do for the rest of this, because what her policy platforms are and what her positions are, we're going to find out in the coming days. We're going to find out. Right now, she's riding a high. Like, her and Doug are out there just like popping bottles right now and having the best time in like pink and green. They are ready to go, right? They're ready to go. Who is her running mate going to be? This is what I've been pressed about. I've also had the best time with it. Like, who are the top picks in the Fantasy Veepstakes? That's what I want to know. That's because I'm going to tell you right now. Somebody mentioned to me, oh, what about Gretchen Whitmer? I'm like, Big Gretch of Michigan? I'm just going to say it. We are not about to see a 2-woman ticket in America in 2024. Also, I don't know if I can handle that. How many people are going to remember what they sound like? I'm just trying to say, what does Hillary Clinton sound like? But you remember Obama, right? Misogyny. I'm just saying, we got to actually remember what they say when they do their speeches. We all need to be improving ourselves on that. I'm not trying to. It's something I'm constantly making sure that I am not internalizing more. Also, Big Gretch is a beast. I think she's going to have her own thing to run when the time comes. I already mentioned her and Gavin Newsom. I think I would love to see them go head to head one day. It's just like real WrestleMania shit. So let's just be for real. It's got to be a white man. Like, we just got to, if we don't want civil war, if we want to win, okay, It's got to be a white man. It's got to be a white man. So I'm going to go through some of the very probable white men that I believe could be part of the Fantasy Veepstakes. One, Mark Kelly. Okay, he's a senator from Arizona. He's a centrist. Why don't you know who Mark Kelly is? Because he's a gray man. Do you remember Tatiana in Orphan Black? Right? Just literally could become anything. That's Mark Kelly. I looked at him and I don't even remember what he looks like. You can literally put anything you want on Mark Kelly. He is a gray man. There's no such thing as a centrist. I've never heard of that in my life. I don't know who that is. Okay. So he's an ideal pick for somebody that you just want to just project things onto and have him disappear. Okay. Another person, Pete Buttigieg. All right. Now, I know that you guys know him. He's 42. He's currently the transportation secretary. I'm going to be honest with you. Black woman, gay white man. It's giving Pornhub category. I don't want to say it. I don't want to be that person. I don't. It's giving gay son, thought daughter. I just don't. I don't want Kamala to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. We just got to move on from that. I like the guy. I actually think that he would honestly slice up JD Vance in a way that would be incredibly, incredibly satisfying. But the truth is, I just watched JD Vance try to make people laugh, like literally people who like cheer if somebody blinks at them. And he died on the stage. It was so embarrassing. I just like, he is a flop through and through. Like, I have no idea how they're supposed to make JD Vance somebody interesting. Good luck with that. So I don't think it's going to be Pete Buttigieg. Again, he's very sharp-tongued. He's witty. I like him. He has energy. And at this point, that's somehow a win for us. Another person to think about, Andy Bashir, 46 years old, also former AG, okay? This is what the New York Times said about him, or was it the LA Times? It's one of them. They said he, quote unquote, formed his own identity distinct from the liberal wing of the Democrats. I don't know what that means. I tried to find out what that means. That's literally all they said about it. I think it means that he's not friends with the squad. But I don't know what that means. What I do know is that he struck a blow for voting rights in Kentucky when he restored the vote of like 180,000 voters, many of whom were black, because of, the way felony works and voting rights. And so it was a win for voting rights. And he has an agenda. He wants to do more democratic expansion into red states. So that's somebody to look at. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, 51, Jewish, okay? Gangster, because he beat Trump. He beat a Trump-picked opponent for Pennsylvania. That's actually that cannot be understated how difficult that win was for him. And he did it. He's mad energetic. He's very popular. He also is very supportive of Israel. I want to know how that, if that is a good fit, I want to know what that actually looks like, RE, Kamala, and how about we end the funding to Israel's war on Palestine? It is a one-sided war. It is genocidal. How about we just end that? I don't know that I ever can be about somebody who isn't willing to run on a ticket like that. So that's somebody to know. We've got Roy Cooper. I did this so that you didn't have to, okay? So we've got the gay one. We have the regular one. We have the Jewish one. This is the dad one, okay? So Roy Cooper, North Carolina governor, he's 67 years old. So he was also an attorney general. I'm like, I didn't even know that was like a gateway to like the Senate. I'm just like, oh, because remember, guys, I'm not from here, but I don't even know if you know that if you are from here. Anyway, so weird to me, but he opposed House Bill number 2, a measure that required individuals to use bathrooms based on their gender identity assigned at birth. So my point is that he might love trans people. That's great. I mean, I love that. Cooper denounced the law as unconstitutional and declined to go to court to defend it. So this is the thing. These are choices that these folks make. They can choose to prosecute something. They can also choose not to. That means that people come to them with an agenda and they say, go F yourself. I'm not interested. No thanks, right? It's kind of like the way that the courts are currently working for Trump. He's like, do something about this. And they're like, yeah, we got you, no doubt. See you at the barbecue on Saturday. So that matters. I think that Roy Cooper he's been around for a while. He doesn't have like a huge name. This could be good for him. I think he's somebody to watch. You want to look for somebody that's going to make that's going to make Americans feel safe. Just regular, everyday Americans. We know that progressives love love a blackface. They love a blackface. They don't love a black agenda. Right. So you got to have a white in there to just like cool the waters a little bit. And what we want as black folks and as lefties and as anybody who believes in any kind of justice, or I don't know, any kind of like, bread on the table, being able to like live and have healthcare and go to work and have education that doesn't put you in like serious debt for the rest of your life. Those folks, yeah, they actually love a black agenda and don't care as much if it's a black candidate. So I think we are way past the identity is me thing, and we're into like identity can be your entry point, but your values and your belief systems and your platforms need to be your exit if you actually want to be about it in 2024. So I think that those are our big hitters. I'm low key going for like a Bashir or like a Cooper. Okay. I think Shapiro might have some kinds of game he's trying to run on his own. We'll see. But those are the Veep sweepstakes. These are the fantasies. Let's call them the Veepstakes. I will say this. I did see something that made me laugh, which was a comedian who said that the best candidate for Kamala to run with was Tony Hawk. And I was like, you know what, nigga, you might be right. Like, give me a Tony Hawk, give me a Tom Hanks, actually. Give me, like, American politics is basically WrestleMania at this point. So just give us a guaranteed win. Maybe it doesn't have to be a politician at all. Like, just give me somebody basic. I mean, they literally ran with Pence. That guy wasn't even human, and he was in office. I think the world is our oyster at this point. Anyway, that's the spiel for Kamala. You got a little bit of the reaction behind her. You got her record. You have her current positions on some of the key issues. Again, we have yet to see her economic platform on immigration and, of course, the economy, which I just alluded to. But it is important to know where she's coming from, and I think we can help steer where she's going, since she's the one and we got robbed of choice. Honestly, it's like they're telling us, giving us Kamala this way and not giving us a choice was just like being told that, you have to choose Flava Flav as like your lover and that's the win. Is it? Is it really the win? This is where we're at. So anyway, let me hit that question of the day right quick, y'all.
Hi, this is Anthony calling in from the lovely Angeles National Forest. I'm wondering what your take is on people who assign male at birth. They are in every way male presenting, and they use they, them pronouns.
Okay, look, I'm not going to police anyone's gender ever, right? Like, I'm never going to do that. But my initial thoughts are, what are you running from? Like, what are you running from? What are you backing up? It's about people's politics more than their aesthetic, right? So if I'm seeing somebody that is very much like presenting exactly as they are, they got a little fingernail painted or whatever, and they're not running from anything, which is like, again, I'm like, where are you come from? What do you believe? Because I'm like, if you're about it and you're out here on the streets, like nobody's questioning that. The other thing is, it is a bit queerly, and if you're signaling like queerly and bi, but you don't gobble dick every 6 months, I'm not really interested in your story. Like, I'm really not. I love a queer aesthetic. But it's really about the politics that govern them. And if you aren't living that life, like, I don't have an issue with you, but you're boring. You're just very boring. Like, if you're gonna flag something, like, live it. You know what I mean? Like, be in the country, my nigga. Like, live that life. Anyway, that's that's what we have. I did like that question though, because I definitely think, I know that we have some people that are flagging these days, but I will say this: I am not a person that is interested in like cultural appropriation or queer baiting conversations. I think they're really boring and silly. I know that it can be annoying, but here's my answer. We have this ugly ass flag. We call it the pride flag anyway. So like, let's just make it about belts, because I'm tired of new people coming out and getting all these accolades. And I've been gay in these streets for like years. Like, where's my party? Like, where's my, where's my homecoming? So I think that we need to treat queerness like belts. And it's the color of the pride flag. Like, you really got to get up there to be a black belt. Maybe it starts out with you reading Judith Butler and Audre Lorde and The Ethical Slut. And then, halfway through, you're in a polycule and you realize it's not for you. You know what I mean? You co-parent, maybe the two beforehand, you co-parent a dog together. Okay. But you've been broken up for years and you can't talk on anything like that isn't like WhatsApp, right? Or Telegram. Actually, if we're talking about queers, it's Telegram. Like, I just need us to have some rules, okay? That's all I'm saying. Gobble a dick and go ahead and paint them fingernails. Anyway, thank you for that question of the day. That's been the episode. Mad love to y'all. Just thank you so much for listening to Landline. It means the world to us. You already know the show is a labor of love. We are hitting it up. You'll find us on Apple and Spotify. We are increasing the episodes every week. We're at 4 right now. And don't forget to drop us your voice note question at landlinewithjfk@gmail.com. Shout out to KR and the entire Landline team. And shout out to you, the listeners that make it all possible. Peace.